a glass of wine in her hand. I knew she was gonna meet her connection, and her feet was a footloose man. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometime, you might find that what you need. I went down to the demonstration to get my fair share of you. Saying we're gonna vent our frustration. If we don't, we're gonna blow this damn fuse. Can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get.
Hello, Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, across the United States and across the world. Welcome to another episode of Living on Music. I hope everybody is staying well, staying safe, and also living on music in your own ways by listening to albums. I know a bunch of people have pulled out their vinyl of late too, and have really re-enjoyed the vinyl. But again, welcome. If you see behind me, you see one of our area's most illustrious venues, Rams Head Live up in Baltimore. Also feeling the pinch badly of this time we're in. But it actually has a relevance to my amazing guest tonight, Billy Coulter. And if you're a fan of local music for the last number of years, you know Billy's name, you know his band, you know his wide range of things that he's done musically in his life and career. And we had such a wonderful conversation about that musical journey that he's taken, the number of bands that he has been in, including a punk metal band. I love that. And he also, again, played, opened for a band that you'll find out who that was at Rams Head Live behind me, which was a huge moment for the Billy Coulter band. But we'll be with Billy in just a couple of minutes. I had some things I wanted to talk about real quick. Living on Music has been going now again since April 13th was our first show with Scott Kurt. And it has been rising and going wonderfully. I think we've made a really neat impact on local musicians, at least giving them a chance to engage and do some kind of reminiscing and talking about the future and things like that. And it's really, I think, helped even some people. We've created a Living on Music page on Facebook. We've had kind of machinations of that, but thanks to our amazing new producer, editor, social media whiz, Lainey Delaney, we're upgrading ourselves. And this page is wonderful. It basically will tell you who's coming up that Monday. But what you just need to do is basically go onto this page when you click on the link that you see here, and it's basically hit follow. And then you will not only get clicked for Billy's show, the upcoming Sound Impact show, Daryl Klein, whoever's coming up, but also across the board, you'll be able to get pinged for any show we do. Also on this page is wonderful. There's a full range of episodes from the first with Scott to Billy's tonight and beyond. Those shows are there for you to enjoy. They are a wonderful, some very lengthy, long, and wonderful journeys with these amazing musicians. But it is, I think you can get a really good cross section of what the DC area provides musically. It is astounding, second to none, in my opinion. There are a lot of great communities of music across this country and the world. But anyway, Living on Music page is going to be a lot of fun. So you can kind of interact and engage a little bit more with the show and check it out. And also remember that we are here for the musicians, the venues, and other people. Speaking of venues, my friends at the Birchmere are continuing to try to keep going as this pandemic kind of continues to drag itself across our winter. And they're doing shows. They had Junior Brown on this past Saturday. I'm sure it was a wonderful show. And this Thursday night, a band that's been around for a while. It's Carbon Leaf, and Carbon Leaf is kind of an alt, even sometimes Celtic, even sometimes folk band that's been around for a long time. They're from Virginia. Met at Randolph-Macon College, I believe, is when things started for Carbon Leaf. They will be at the Birchmere this Thursday evening, 7 o'clock, 7:30 show at the Birchmere. There is obviously a lot of social distancing protocol. There are limited attendance, but I'm telling you, if you want to go to a show and feel pretty safe, I mean, again, everybody has their own opinion on this. It is fogged by a high-level fogging company, or what they do at hospitals, that kind of thing. They scrub the place down left and right. So try to continue to support places like the Birchmere and other local venues. And one way to do it that you can have some fun with for Christmas, even if you get something going fast. The 930 Club is created as part of their website at 930-club.myshopify.com, as you see the URL on here, as it'll appear. Basically, the 930 Club is giving you a shot to kind of have a reminiscence of your life at 930 Club, at a show you'll never forget, or things like that. And basically what they're doing is they're at that Shopify.com, myshopify.com site. You can get a framed memory. So if you went, last show we went to, and it was right before the pandemic hit, Suzanne and I went to see a phenomenal show, the Drive-By Truckers at the 930 Club, and just had an amazing time. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen there. And I interviewed Patterson Hood not long ago and met him, and what a guy. But what a band. We could have, you could have a little poster of the Drive-By Truckers, 930 Club poster. You could have a picture of you two there, or a picture from the show that you might have taken with your phone or a camera or something, and the ticket stub. And it is just one of those really wonderful things. It's about $80, but it is really, really well done. You can see here, there's, with the Green Day one, there's a number of them where you can have your your date or your friends with you in a picture. So this is all leading up to the fact that 15% of the profits from this go to NIVA, the National Independent Venue Association. So there's a real reason for this, and it's also to help the 930 Club, who has also been suffering. One of the legendary clubs in this area. I mean, just one of the in the country. It's one of the top clubs, and they've been hurting. So anyway, go to 930-club.myshopify.com and check out. Basically, it is they're calling it the framed concert memorabilia print, and get going quickly if you want to try to get something for Christmas. One of my favorite people that's been on the show, and it was great. We just had a blast, and it was one of the relatively earlier shows, so you're always working through stuff, especially virtually. And she was so sweet and patient with us. Patty Reese, one of this area's supreme singer-songwriters, and has been for so long. And so many of my guests have collaborated with Patty on a number of levels, including Billy Coulter and other folks across the board. Patty did what has been known to be something that I actually found out that Billy Coulter did this not long ago. It's the Acoustic Guitar Project, and what a fascinating thing they do. They basically, again, go to a city, they pick 5 known musicians, and they ask them basically to write a song, an original song, in 1 week and record it live. And, this could be largely it's with your acoustic guitar, or, by yourself on a solo basis just to get it done. And then they give you a guitar to sign and pass on, and it becomes part of you. Well, Patty, Arch Alcantara did this, and I talked about that last week. Patty Reese also did this, and basically Patty has written a absolutely beautiful song, and it's called What Really Matters. She talks about, if you go to the acousticguitarproject.com, you find Patty. You'll see her. You can't miss her. She's stands out wherever she is. And she basically talks for a couple of minutes about why she wrote this song. And it's extremely moving and beautiful. And especially during this time, this song is about her mom. and addresses a lot of different people. For it can be for a lot of different people in their lives, but this is largely about her mom, what really matters. And so we're going to play this song for you. It's the acousticguitarproject.com. It's also Patty Reese music. Patty Reese, find her. If you don't know Patty well, find her. She's been playing a lot virtually as well, with Dave Chappell and a number of people, and it's been wonderful to see that. We're going to get her back on the show hopefully in the next couple of months. Kind of do a rewind back to some of these amazing people like Patty that we had on the show early on. Basically, again, my guest tonight, Billy Coulter, is a fabulous ride. So stay tuned for that right after you see beautiful job by the amazing Patty Reese singing What Really Matters.
She packed my lunch every morning, and so the clothes I wore to school. She raised me up a Christian and one astray. She loved me in a way. What really matters, she taught me every day. What really matters is love, family, and faith. What really matters is love like Jesus did. When I'm stumbling in the dark, I can reach down in my heart and find what really matters. The doctors did all they could do. She endured with dignity and grace. We prayed, cried, and we made those hard goodbyes. She taught me how to live. She taught me how to die. And what really matters is the love we give. What really matters are our family and friends. What really matters is the love like Jesus did. So be the keeper of your heart and guard against the dark. What really matters, you won't hear it on TV. What really matters is gonna come down to you and me. What really matters is love, our family and friends, and how we live our lives today. Because in the end, that's all that really matters.
On last Monday's Living on Music episode, I took an incredible jaunt down memory lane with my buddy Chuck Sullivan. I mean, an epic, almost 90-minute jaunt. And a few months back, I did the same with another spectacular musical colleague of mine, Ronnie Newmeyer. And those guys are the co-founders of, you know it, Bandhouse Gigs, the incredible music tribute entity that has made a huge mark on this area and then some. I mean, every guest I have had on has had the amazing opportunity to play a Bandhouse gig. And my guest tonight, the superb Billy Coulter, is no exception. He's played and shined at a handful of those gigs, and that says a lot for him just off the bat. In fact, we played two tributes together. Me, the midlife cover band guy, not the lifetime musician guy, at JV's for David Bowie. And then Chuck and Ronnie pulled a bunch of us to play the Fillmore, and I was lucky enough to play, and Billy went and Got to watch him sing a couple songs there. So it was rehearsing with and performing in the same amazing show as fabulous lifelong musicians like Billy that kind of made that experience so miraculous to me. And one of the more memorable performances were, of course, Billy's, and there are reasons why, you guys. I mean, since launching his own band in 2003, Billy Coulter's made his mark with dynamic, exciting performances live, gracing the stages at some of the Mid Atlantic's top venues, including with my buddies at the Birchmere, Ram's Head, Strathmore, the Hamilton, and even the late and beloved Iota. Billy's distinctive voice and songwriting have earned him a slew of Washington Area Music Award. We call them the Whammies. I just got nominated to be a judge this year, so very excited for that. But he's got album, songwriter, roots rock recording, roots rock vocalist, and I love this, some swing awards for his work with his band Natty Bo, which is a wonderful band. I had Seth Keibel on 2 weeks ago, and we talked all about Billy and Natty Bo. He's got influences from Johnny Cash to John Lennon to David Bowie to Bob Dylan, and he's crafted an authentic sound, really. And listening to a lot of the music over the last couple of weeks, more intensely than ever, you can tell that it's got authenticity with a nod to some of the classic music that he loves and has been influenced by. He's really made a name for himself with this sound, his vocal abilities, and his unique songwriting. And we're going to be playing some wonderful songs of his tonight. The WashingtonPost.com said a while back that Billy's a pro, that he does roots rock about as well as it can be done. And that's a pretty great thing from WashingtonPost.com. But the other one I love is Richard Gere from Music for Grown Up said, Billy combines tuneful and dynamic rock with seemingly hard-earned emotional maturity. And that is a wild statement. We're going to talk all about the life and music of Billy Coulter, and let's get to it. Right now, please welcome, without further ado, Mr. Billy Coulter. Hey, Billy, how are you, man? Great to see you.
Hey, Steve, thanks so much for doing this. It's a great service you're doing for us musicians. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's such a treat. Everybody that has done it, I mentioned a minute ago, our amazing friends Chuck and Ronnie, who kind of are this almost captains of this ship that has the crew of you amazing people and us that come on and play these amazing gigs. And we're going to be talking about Bandhouse, but it's been a great run, and I've been wanting to get you on for a while, and I'm so glad this worked out. Again, right now, musicians are the ones that are one of those hurting groups. I one day hope we don't have to talk about it at the beginning of a show. You and we can talk in person and interview, but how have you been doing this last 7, 8, 9 months, with all of this, kind of from a music standpoint, even a little bit personally? How have you been getting through it all?
Well, it's funny because I kind of dialed back the number of gigs I was going to do this year. I just sort of felt like I wanted to play those venues that I really enjoyed the experience at. And so I had still quite a few gigs on the books, but even the outdoor gigs were canceled, and those I look forward to so much. I mean, there's nothing like playing in wide open spaces for a group of people who are just it's just exhilarating. And when those went, that's when I started getting depressed. I was like, oh man, there's nothing. So from the last gig I played this year was in February. We do an annual gig. My older sister is a singer,
right,
in a band in Richmond called the English Channel, and we do it basically around my mother's birthday, where she comes and joins my band, and we play a bunch of songs together. And that was it. That was the last time I played live up until October. I did an outdoor pop-up porch gig with the bassist in my band, Arch Alcantara, and the guitarist in Billy Coulter band, Max Evans. And we just set up on my back porch, had about a dozen friends and neighbors come over, socially distanced,
Yep.
and it was beautiful. The feedback from that was these people had been starving for entertainment, for that kind of joy that you get out of out of live music. And so that was a beautiful thing. And then I've done a couple other porch things since then, but that's kind of all we can do right now,
Yeah, it is. We've done a couple of duo gigs, about 6 or 8 in the pipe stem, and I did a couple, one at a big pool parking lot, and people are just dying for kind of just hearing music, live and in front of people. And I know that that's an exhilaration. Any hobbies you've found, or things you've never done before?
Well, I was trying to find a way to be of service during this period. I mean, there are so many people that my hat is off to those frontline workers, the essential workers that are out there, during COVID doing what they do. And so my wife Maggie suggested that we start transporting rescue dogs. So these dogs that are slated to be euthanized in shelters in the South have this network of people that travel up I-95 mostly and deliver these dogs to either new
Yeah.
foster owners or other shelters that are no-kill shelters,
Right.
So we we started doing that, and it's not much. It's like a 2-hour drive up 95, handed off to some other extremely nice person who's involved in this. We've met some of the kindest people ever during this, and now and you may hear during this call, we're fostering a dog right now. Her name is Tammy. And
Yes.
she's a puppy and she's a handful. So
Oh, I
you
love
might
that.
hear you
No,
might hear
perfect
Tammy.
publicity for that. In fact, again, this is going to air when this airs. Well, maybe you'll get a couple extra requests. That's amazing. My dog Atticus, I've had for 10 years this March, is a Pet Connect rescue dog
Awesome.
from North Carolina. Same thing. They would go down to the high kill shelters and scoop up dogs and bring them up here to be fostered, like with sweet people like you, or
Mhm.
they would take them to the shelters that don't do the euthanasia as often or at all. And Atticus has been a joy of my life. And so, yeah, rescue dogs rock, and you rock
They're the
for doing
best
that.
breed.
Well, that's so great. How cool is that you ended up doing that? Well, talking about kind of coming into this, what were your musical kind of activities prior to the pandemic? Were you kind of in a waiting moment? Were you doing some writing? What was
Mm.
kind of before this hit?
Yeah, so I was struggling with finishing a couple songs. We had put out three digital singles in 2018, I guess, and I'm sitting in my music room here, so it's all set up for rehearsals or recording, and I have like 5 or 10 unfinished songs
Great.
that are still unfinished. And frankly, Steve, I have been affected in a way by this pandemic that I'm just not willing to dig deep right now.
Right.
There's a lot of sadness in the world. The unrest that's in the U.S. has just been unbelievable. I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime,
Me
and
neither.
now thankfully things are hoping to stabilize there, but
Mhm.
I hope. Um, but I'll get to it. I'll get there. I've had moments. I literally last week started thinking about the things that we've lost in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big writer of sad songs kind of guy. I mean, there's some sad stories across my catalog, but I think it may be time to write that. Just all the things that we've lost. So um, we'll see what
Well,
comes out of
yeah, and it'll come to you when it's ready to come to you, and you feel like writing about it. I've had a number of guests that have written stuff directly about Siobhan O'Brien and Ali Handel, and all these other people have written songs that were directly to that because it was part of their, healing and stuff. It sounds
that.
well. Your songwriting is such a big part of you, and we're going to delve into that as we go here. In fact, you did have one pretty cool song that we sound checked called "South of Serenity." Uh,
Yeah.
why don't we kick people off with a little live Billy Coulter, because it is just such a wonderfully written song. How did this come to bear? This song.
So who knew that it would be apropos in 2020? I wrote this after 9/11, literally.
Oh,
Yeah, in
wow.
in like October of 9/11, and it was just a sort of stream of consciousness flow of what I was feeling during that time, and how different everything felt, you know. So yeah, there's a couple songs that I've written that you can plug right into 2020. It's like, okay.
Yeah, funny how that happened.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're a real treat to kick things off tonight. Here's Billy Coulter with a little South of Serenity.
I'll take the wheel from here, 'cause I wanna disappear. There's not a cloud in the deep blue sky. Who could have known this was a good day to die? A little bit south of Serenity, I can't see it from here. A little bit south of Serenity, your voice draws me near. It leaves me a bit exposed when our leaders act like they know what to do in this brand new fight. So this is the first day of the rest of your life. A little bit south of Serenity, I can't see it from here. A little bit south of Serenity, your voice draws me near. When the emptiness starts to swell, it's like I spent a few days in hell. The silence is killing me, one day at a time in the land of the free. A little bit south of Serenity, I can't see it from here. A little bit south of Serenity, your voice draws me near. A little bit south of Serenity, I can't see it from here. A little bit south of Serenity, your voice draws me near.
Ah, gorgeous, Billy. God, I love it. Really, I've learned so much more about your music than I've known. I'm at fault for that, but it is just right in my alley of music. That's beautiful. Is that on an album? One of your records back
Yeah,
when?
that's on the first album, the self-titled album.
No, that's great. The eponymous album, I think.
The eponymous.
I always love that. Well, look, what I'd like to do is let's turn back the clock for a minute and take a little bit of a ride through the life of Billy Coulter. This has been a fun ride for, I think, basically everybody that's been on Living on Music, just because you kind of get a chance to kind of reminisce and take stock of the tributes and the challenges and the things like that. You were born in Baltimore about 6 months before I was, so we're right in the same age bracket, boomers on the edge of the boomers.
Right.
And the same birthday as a guy who will be coming up throughout this show tonight, my hero, who I fell in love with when my college roommate brought Darkness on the Edge of Town back from Jersey at Christmas in 1978 at Springsteen. And yeah, September 23rd, I saw that, and then I saw Ray Charles and Coltrane. That's a hell of a day.
Good company.
Yeah, way to go. No wonder things go well for you musically. There's some heredity in the air. But a couple of things that were similar too. I remember in February of '63, I was that much younger, but we did that Ed Sullivan on the Beatles. We always seem to remember that even at that young age, how amazingly affected we all were. You received, at 5, it seems around 5. I guess it's a Roy Rogers toy guitar for Christmas, and I
So
love that.
if I lean back, you'll see it back
Oh,
here.
there it is.
That's the top of it. That's all that's left of that. It's a cardboard guitar with plastic strings on it.
Oh my! Now, who gave you that? And was that literally? Did that get you going, or was that kind of a symbol, and then it took a little while?
I'm sure that was my mom's idea. She's the one that really instilled the joy and love of music in my family. And I sent you a picture of me holding it, and then the next picture, it's a little blurry, but I'm going like this,
Yeah, there it is.
I was like, where did I get that at 4 or 5 years old? I don't know.
Yeah, and that did that instill music that early in you, or that's a pretty early time to really feel it.
Yeah, I remember being told that I could grow my hair long if I learned how to play violin, but I didn't want to learn how to play violin. So, this is like pre-teen years. I guess around 8 or 9 years old, something like that. Maybe 10 or 11, I forget now. I got my first guitar lessons, and we had a Spanish guitar, a nylon string Spanish guitar, and the fretboard was this wide on it, the neck. And when you're a kid, you can barely reach. And we went to the store one day, and Victor Litt's music store. And I saw this electric guitar. Remember that store? It's still around.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Silvertone electric guitar with a built-in amplifier. So I could really annoy all my family members with that. And I had a couple lessons, but then I put it away. I put it away. And then my older sister, Julie, who's the singer in a band in Richmond called the English Channel.
Right.
She joined a band right around the end of her high school years, or like the end of my high school years. And they would rehearse at our house. And I got a new guitar, a real guitar, a Les Paul double cutaway, and I would plug into their amplifiers when they weren't there down in the basement. I didn't have an amp. I would plug into their amplifiers and try to pluck out some chords. And that's how. Oh my God! Yeah, that's how I got into this. I literally learned the first frame of bar chords and the cowboy chords, and that's all I knew on guitar. And fast forward about 6 or 8 months later, they fired the keyboard player in their band, and they said, why don't you learn all our songs and you play rhythm guitar? And I was like, yeah, I just wait, And so a friend of hers showed me the second frame of bar chords. So I learned like 36 songs in 2 weeks, and wow. That's how I got into this,
Oh, wow. You got a fire drill.
That'll do it.
Well, you got a fire drill and started. That is that, and it's really neat that both of you, you and your sister, is she still singing with English Channel?
Yeah.
Or is she singing with them now? Yeah, that's great that you guys instilled it that long ago and you're still going with it. You started your first, was it your first band that was the Inserts? Was that your first real band?
Yeah, so what happened was Julie left and got married and moved to California, and the drummer from her band and I were friends, and I reached out to a guy who worked at my high school. Actually, I had just graduated high school. I started college, or just about to start college, right. And I knew he played bass. John Busbus was his name, and
right.
And he had a friend who played guitar, George Mora, and so we started this band, and we were playing covers, and then I started writing songs. And I look back on some of those songs, I'm like, what was I thinking? But
but you were writing them. But was that really when the writing began for you?
That was, and there's only 1 or 2 songs from that era that still hold any value to me. But we started playing places around town, like the Psychedelic. Friendship Station. This is all early 80s. The Chancery, the
Oh,
Gentry.
right.
And our big break came when we got to open for the Slicky Boys at
Oh,
Desperados in
oh
Georgetown. That
wow.
was like, I was in heaven. So yeah,
Oh,
that was a real heady time. And
yeah. You recorded a single "Living in Suburbia," backed with the B-side "Ganja,"
gotcha. Yeah,
and a big
yeah.
shocker that would be a B-side in the '80s at our age. But no, that's one. And then the Diversions
Hmm.
were part of that evolution for you.
Yeah, they were really good friends. The band was good friends of ours, and they had a house in Aspen Hill, in Rockville, that they affectionately called the Aspen Hill home for the very, very easily amused.
Oh
So
God.
it was their band house. And when the inserts broke up, I joined as a rhythm guitarist with them, and that only lasted a little while, but there were a lot of times that the inserts and the diversions played together. When we were both going concerns. So
Right.
I'm still friends with those people today. It was just wonderful, wonderful, lasting friendships we made back
Love
then.
that. Love hearing that more than anything. In '83, you joined Bomb Squad,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
that was punk metal. And so, what was the thought of doing that? Just to kind of dip your toe into another pond of music?
So you and I are both big Bowie fans, and
Yeah.
I took a I took a trip. I had just graduated college, and I took a trip to Europe, and I literally cut that trip to Europe short so that I could see Bowie at the Capitol Center on the Sirius
Oh,
Moonlight tour. And what
wow.
I'm so glad I did. It was just spectacular, in my top 10 of concerts of all time. And a
Yeah.
friend of mine, a guy named Harry Folsom, was at the show with his wife, Pat. And Pat was a huge Bowie fan too. And Harry said, they had just the Bomb Squad had been in existence, and they had just lost their lead singer. And he said, you should do this. I'm like, I don't know, man. It's like punk metal, and but frankly, Steve, what happened was I was a little tired of being a band leader, okay,
Oh.
and all that's entailed with that, and I
Mhm.
kind of got my heart broken, thinking that the inserts could make it, and that didn't happen, and all this stuff. So I was like, yeah, this looks easy as compared to what the inserts and the diversions were doing. It's like I just had to show up. I didn't bring a guitar. I
Right.
sometimes remember to bring a tambourine, and I would just do these gigs mostly drunk and high, whatever. And it didn't matter because it was just this edgy, crazy, punky, loud, brash thing. And yeah, it was a lot of fun for a while. So
Well, I bet. Again, that's part of your journey. That was a big moment, I'm sure, for your music soul went, "No, that was a good run, but maybe we're going to go in a different direction at some point." You graduated from AU, I guess a year later. You got a real job. What happened between then and your next musical endeavors?
not much. I started working in publishing, and
Right.
I dabbled a little bit. A friend of mine had gotten divorced, and he had all this time on his hand, and he programmed all this music into a MIDI device so that it would play back, and he wanted me to be in this duo with him. And we played a couple gigs like that, playing stuff that was like on HFS, covers like that.
Great.
But that was really, I mean, I can count on one hand how many times I really had any certainly any gigs and any real musical endeavors during, from like 1984 to almost 2000. And then I was working at this publishing company, and I found out that actually uh, I found out that one of the editors was we had some mutual friends who were musicians, and this guy Alex Savastovich said, "Hey, we put a band together for the annual sales conference or whatever they were doing," and he said, "Why don't you come play with us?" And I was like, and we were playing like Brown Eyed Girl and stuff
Right.
like that,
And
and
that became Butterface, right?
it did. It most certainly did. The drummer Jimmy
Right.
Colford was just a joy to play with, and Tim Herms was a singer and guitarist, and we all got together and played a couple gigs at the Grog every now and then, and
Yeah.
remember the Grog?
Well, you're literally the third artist in my last 4 or 5 shows that has mentioned the Grog and Tankard. Laura Segaris was one of them. Chuck Sullivan. I mean, everybody is. That is such a monumental place for people to have played in their early days. Yeah, I worked right up. I worked right up Wisconsin at Channel not 5, so I would come down there. Butterface, you were doing that for a while. Then, in the late '90s, you had a little bit of a time where you kind of reassess life a little bit.
Yeah. So I, for lack of a better word, I just sort of hit bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, bottom is where I just stopped digging.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people listening will understand what I mean by that. And
Yep.
I just found a new way of life. I found that there was more to my existence than what I had been thinking was working for a long time. So with those changes, it was really an inward journey. And I started feeling things I hadn't felt for, almost 20 years.
Right.
Things that were just pushed down, pushed aside, covered up with booze and whatever else. And
Yep.
and so it was during that time, early, I guess I started writing these songs in late '98.
Mm-hmm.
And, I look back on this. Thank you for asking for this, this musical history, because I haven't thought about some of this stuff for a while. But if I look back, I can see where people were placed in my path,
Right.
For a reason. And what happened for me was that I had gone on this vacation. I found myself newly single, and I went on this vacation to this Club Med in Sonora, Mexico. And when I walked in there, I see all these road cases for a band. I'm like, wow, they got a band here? That's great, And on one of them, it said FM, and it had a penguin for the logo. I'm like, I wonder who's in this band. So it turns out the band that was playing that for that period during this vacation event had all these great players in it. The drummer was Denny Sywell, who was Paul McCartney's first drummer. Okay, all the way up to Band on the Run. That
Right.
early. The bass player had played with the Tower of Power rhythm section. The guitarist, I forget his name, but he had a resume too. And the road case was from Fleetwood Mac. That's what the penguin and the FM stood for. And it was a guy named Steve Toma, who had played during a period of Fleetwood Mac in the 90s, had toured with them when Christine McVie wasn't in the band. And so he was playing keys. And we struck up a conversation by the pool one day and found that we had an awful lot in common. And I told him that I'd been writing some stuff, and he said, "Oh, you should send it to me," because he had as much experience as a player and musical director for Glenn Frey and all this stuff, but he had also been a producer. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was in desperate need of a producer, because you listen to the demos I made here in this room versus what became my first album, and just his ear and the way he massaged and brought out from me what became my first album was nothing short of brilliant. And so I got
that's fantastic. And he really he's done some really neat stuff. Kind of looking back, he was also a big Bruce Willis guy. He and Bruce Willis.
I know he can make. My feeling was that if he could make Bruce Willis be sound, palatable, then he can certainly do something with me.
Well, and he did the
Bruce.
Yeah, Dave Mason and Jim Capaldi live and stuff. Yeah, what an amazing find he must have been for you. Gosh, that's spectacular. I love that. So that's Sonora. Those Sonora Bay pictures were on that trip.
Yeah, I got up and played with them.
God.
I got up and did Sympathy for the Devil with them. And I was just brimming with excitement to be able to play with these guys. And Steve just, the next day he's like, "I've never seen anybody more blissful, playing guitar." And so
I love that.
Started the journey. That moment started the journey that has culminated here.
Yeah, Billy, it seems like, and I know you feel this way, is that experience really kind of propelled you into a ride that has continued to this day.
Oh, totally. Just playing with those guys in Sonora Bay, it was a absolutely blissful experience. And, I sent the demos that I've been working on to Steve Toma, and so here's where we circle back to the Diversions. Okay, so my
Wow.
friend, the singer and guitarist from the Diversions, Brian Vialva, is now living outside of LA in the high desert. Okay, and
Right.
Steve says, well, why don't you come out here and we'll 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 work with what your basic tracks are and finish the demo. Okay,
Right.
so I shipped my gear out to Brian. I shipped my ADATs out to Brian, and we set up in his studio, and Steve's playing keyboards on it. And I remember the goosebumps, the hair standing on end when I hear what he's adding to my songs. Shining Through is a perfect example of that. It's like these organ stabs that I would have never thought of, Steve. It's like,
Wow.
it's amazing.
Oh,
And so with his stewardship, with his guidance, I also played for him this next batch of songs, and there was one I really didn't want to write. There was one that was just there was so much hurt underneath it that he's like, you have to finish that before you come back here next month. And he put together a band that included that bass player, Tim Scott, that was in Sonora Bay,
right.
and an excellent drummer named Danny Pacello Jr. And we go back in the studio, and this is this song that really captures regret. I mean, it is about my failings as a human, as a person in a relationship, and the emptiness that I was still feeling at this point. It's not that much later that this is 2000, 2001, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we recorded Too Far, that's on the first album, there was this feeling in the room that it would swell, and it would dissipate, and then swell, and then dissipate, and then ultimately, and I
Wow.
felt like I was recording on just a scratch vocal on a SM58, and I said, I don't think I will ever match that emotion or intensity again. And so that's the lead vocal that's on the record today. That there was just something in that room that everybody was moving and feeling and understanding exactly what this was about. And it is so present in that recording. It's just,
Wow.
yeah, that's a moment.
Oh, that's spectacular that you remember that. And, to be able to have kicked off that part of your career with that experience just must have been a wonderful, precipitator to what's going on. I mean, basically, things started really climbing for you over the next few years. I mean, you started playing higher profile clubs, Celebrate Fairfax, which I've played a number of times with my band. We played there in the semi-rain about a year and ago. And what a neat place and kind of a lively place. And they, of course, couldn't do it this year. You, in 2006, I had Seth Keibel on, talked so highly of you, and you decided to, again, take a little bit of a turn, maybe off the regular path that you were going in terms of music, and you formed Natty Bo, blues swing band, Andy Hamburger, Louis Newmeyer, Andy Rutherford, Gant, all these people we both know, amazing band. How did that come to be, that you would go down that route for a little while?
So, first of all, I just want to jump back for 1 second
Sure.
and say for the record that I wouldn't have the music career that I have today if it wasn't for my wife, Maggie. She was tireless in getting out there, and I truly wanted to just be like, crawl in a hole after the first rejection I got from a club. And she made relationships with these people, at IOTA, at Birchmere, at where, whatever those venues, and got me in those places as a relative unknown at that time. So that was key to that success. But for the Natty Bows, my dear friend Brian Sims, who's a remarkable musician, keyboard player, plays with my band, and he also plays in Natty Bows. And and where his musical taste and mine met was in the post-war era up to about 1960, where this great, fun, happy, lively music was happening with,
Right.
it was upright bass, saxophone, keyboards, and guitar, and just this, just a blast. Louis Jordan, Louis Prima,
Oh,
some Ray Charles, all that is in there, and we just have
right.
a great time. I mean, for a long time, it was a really popular band, and sadly, we
Yeah.
haven't. I think we played in January, and that was the last of that. So,
Yeah, I mean, having Seth on it with his woodwind talents are pretty astounding,
oh,
and that was a neat
absolutely.
show. Yeah, just to have a little bit of a different tone, but he really seemed to have a wonderful time with that, and it seems like it was a great run. You snagged a couple of whammies, I think, from that band for your swing singing. Did you think that
Yeah.
would ever? I mean, how amazing! You went from the Mott the Hoople love and stuff, and a rocker, and then your punk band, and then you're singing Louis Jordan. I mean, it was just amazing.
Yeah, I know. And I'm a baritone, so there's a lot of popular music I can't sing, I
Right.
mean, most rock from 1965 on is too high for me to sing, which is why I started writing. And this stuff's right in that sweet spot of, that sort of crooner range that I can do. So why not? And
Oh, that's
we've
great.
been very, yeah, we're very fortunate. I think that band alone has won 10 whammies, for vocalist and swing band of the year. So,
Well, yeah, and what a lineup is it's fabulous to see.
yep.
It was around that time when you founded Natty Bo that you began, it seems, to kind of delve into a pretty steady flow of tribute shows, some of the Newmeyer Flyers, the Bandhouse gigs. What was your first Bandhouse gig show?
So I went to go see I didn't see the Nils tribute, but I went to see the Neil Young tribute at Strathmore Outdoors, and it was just a magical night. And I didn't really know Ronnie. I knew Louis, his brother, a little bit,
Right.
but I was amazed when I got a call from Ronnie Newmeyer to say, "Hey, how'd you like to sing something on the Bob Dylan tribute at Strathmore
Oh,
Music Center?" And I was like,
oh
"Yes."
God.
And so, I could have considered it an honor then, and even to this day, I consider it an honor anytime. Ronnie can ask me to do anything, and I am happy to do it. If I think somebody can serve that role better, I will suggest them,
Mhm.
but I just love doing his shows. It's really, really a pleasure. And as you know, Steve, there's a lot riding on it. You definitely don't want to be that guy who messed up the show.
Oh God, tell me about it. I mean, again, I joined I went to the band house, Chuck's basement, which is that legendary rehearsal hall, and I walked in there, and who I saw when right when I walked in, I'm like the Bill Starks, the Sidleys. I think I'm like, boy, I do not have the chance to bounce this thing. But you know what it does, and as you know the way it goes when you're with people that make you rise, and
Oh, absolutely.
to stand on the stage. There's a picture of me, and I think I rolled it in Chuck's, and I'm not going to keep rolling it in all the shows, but it's with David Kitchen on one side, Nanny Sidley, and Steve on the other side doing Blue Jean, and it's yeah, that stuff is mind blowing. You really delved into some wonderful shows. I mean, to get asked as a Dylan fan to sing at the Dylan show, though,
Yeah.
must have made you want to pass out. What did you sing at the Dylan tribute?
So it was pretty acoustic prior to my number. It was
Right.
about a third of the way through the first set, and my whole band. I was fortunate that he included my whole band.
Wow.
And we did Springsteen's version of Chimes of Freedom, and
Oh yes.
to this day, the roar that came back at me from 2,000 people, that at that time, that was the most I'd ever played for. And I was like, whoa, what just happened, And it was just brilliant, just this magical experience. Nothing like it,
Oh
So,
yeah, there
yeah.
isn't. I mean, even especially for me, who doesn't play the level of gigs or the often as much as you have in your life. But boy, to play in those places. But you did some wonderful ones. We're gonna go to 2009 for a second and jump into I believe it was the Strathmore where you did the Who tribute. It was kind of a and was it their set from Woodstock that you guys did, or was it a Tommy medley, or was it the Tommy medley within that set from Woodstock?
Yeah, so it's a combination of it's a truncated version of the Tommy. It's a medley from what they played at. I mean, they played almost not the whole album, but quite a bit of Tommy. They debuted it at Woodstock, and so it was a precision drill. Okay,
Yeah,
I
I
mean, we
bet.
had to turn on a dime for each of these changes in this. It started with the Tone Rangers singing "It's a Boy." They were up in the balcony, and
Right.
um, and then Andy Hamburger starts, doing his Keith Moon. Yeah. Cal Everett was on bass and vocals, and Bill Craig was on guitar. And the first time we played this, it was just like this moment, I literally said, "Get up," at the end of, listening to you. I'm like, "Get up," and all of a sudden they did, and you're like, okay,
Oh,
everybody sing. And, it's just one of those experiences that gives me goosebumps today. It's like, wow, again, what just happened?
oh
So
yeah, and I could feel it when I was watching this clip. Well, we're going to dive into a couple of minutes of this amazing clip. Again, this is the Music Center at Strathmore, 2009, on a Who tribute. Billy Coulter leading the way with a little Gypsy, the Acid Queen.
It's a boy, Mrs. Walker. It's a boy. It's a boy, Mrs. Walker. It's a boy. A son, a son, a son. Sickness can surely take the mind, where minds don't usually go. Come on the amazing journey and learn all you should know. If your child ain't always shipping out, this girl could get right. I'll show you what it could be now. Just give me one night. I'm the gypsy, the acid queen, ready for me start. Gypsy, guaranteed to break the soul apart. Our work is done, now look at him. He's never been more alive. His head shakes, his fingers clutch. Watch his body ride. I'm the gypsy, the acid queen, ready for me start. Gypsy, guaranteed to break your
Yeah, you guys captured it. I love the band too. I mean, Cal, Bill, Andy, Tone Ranger. You can't do wrong, and you did a wonderful job. That is so fun, that music to be able to sing. A little before that gig, you did a second album. Look at you on a roll, doing your second record called Dose. That garnered 4 Whammys. It got a roots rock vocalist. What was behind Dose? Was anything kind of different in your mind at that time, or you were kind of just continuing the ride?
So between the first album and the second album, I started sort of growing into my voice.
Right.
Thanks to Marco Del Mar produced both of those albums, and he he said, you've got a good voice, but it can be better. I mean, in the gentlest way possible. And he suggested I go to this trainer for that. And it turned out I was breathing all wrong, And so I come back to the studio, and this time I'm feeling more comfortable in my skin, in my voice, in what's happening. And you start seeing a little shift in my subject matter, that I'm getting a little lighter. I had done everything on that first album of here's how the wreckage of what just happened in my life is really presented pretty clearly on that first album. And there's some beautiful moments there. In the second album, I started getting a little lighter and a little happier. There's a song on there called I'll Be Happy When, that's just this rockin', crazy thing. And Party of One is the song that won the Song of the Year, and Dose was the Album of the Year for the Whammies. And Party of One, I started writing back in the 80s. Okay. I had written the chorus for that, and I never got it all pieced together. And one day I just trotted it out for the band in this room and said, what do you think? What can we do with this? And it gelled. And that really was, just sort of typified where I was writing at that time. And
Right.
It's there's a little nod. There's two covers on the album. One is Ring of Fire, that's got a Bo Diddley beat, that we've been doing live. And the other one was my little homage to Ian Hunter, who is one of my favorite songwriters,
fabulous.
From Mott the Hoople. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a life-changing moment for me, Steve, when I heard the Mott the Hoople live album when I was 15 years old.
Yep. All the young dudes and more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
So we did a song called I Wish I Was Your Mother, which is from the Mott album, and that closes the Dose album. But yeah, I was getting more comfortable, and I think you could sense that, at least I certainly do for Dose. It's been an evolution for me. I am not the greatest guitar. Ask anybody who's in my bands. I'm not the greatest guitar player, it's a means to an end for me. I consider myself a singer and a songwriter first, and then, but I love playing guitar. It's just, these guys tolerate me, I guess. So
well, they tolerate great songwriting and singing. So there you go. Yeah. It was around that time too that you began to kind of up the ante too on festivals, opening for national acts. What were some of the people you remember kind of playing with and kind of meeting back in that, over that next 10 years of your life in that kind of arena?
Yeah. So one of the first big gigs that we got was at Rams Head Live in Baltimore, and since the beginning, Doug Tull,
right behind me, there it is. Yeah, as you know.
I mean, a huge hall, 2,000 seat hall, and we were asked to open for the Outlaws there.
Yeah.
And Doug Tull had been the drummer since the beginning of the project for me, and he got sick like the night before the gig. And so we called our mutual friend El Toro Gamble, and we gave him notes. We talked through the songs. I don't think we ever even rehearsed them with him. And God bless him, he made it through that set without a mistake. And just, it was as if he'd always been playing with us. So that was really a monumental one, especially sort of thrown into the fire at that size venue, But but we've had some great shows. So many potential disasters have been averted. I that one, for example, and I opened for Taylor Hicks, who was a guy. Remember, he was on
American Idol, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
The Star Search or whatever that is, American Idol. And he was playing this big show out in Loudoun County. There's an outdoor concert series there.
Yes.
And John Carroll, who I'd met during the Bandhouse Dylan thing, was going to play keyboards with us. And I made the mistake of rehearsing with him at John's house, which was out in Loudoun. And I lost my voice just before the gig because I'm trying to sing louder than a grand piano. So I'll never do that again, So I'm like struggling through my set and managed to I cut open my finger on like the second song. All these things are going wrong, and somebody's looking out for me up there and just managed to get me through these things. But, We've had some amazing opportunities come my way, and I consider myself very fortunate for all the things that we've gotten to do. The venues like Birchmere, played Rams Head, and I got to open for Johnny Winter, who I loved when I was a kid. Before he passed.
Yeah,
a lot of great stuff. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Actually, John Carroll is going to be on with me on January 25th, so I'm very excited for that ride to talk to him. But and his name has come up as yours has with people. Yeah, it seems like you were really starting to find a place for yourself over that last like 7-8 years since the beginning of the 2000s. In 2010, you recorded one of my favorite parts of your career that I've noticed is the live album Trace. For the Goose Creek label. There is some wonderful stuff in that live, and you guys shot a lot of it on video, right? I mean, how did that evolve?
Yeah, so Mike Pugh is the brainchild behind Goose Creek, and he had this model of videotaping the show and making a live record out of it. And so there are probably 5 or 6 videos on YouTube from the show, and they're the exact same recording that is on the live album. And Stuart Martin produced the live album, did a great job engineering. The challenge with that, Steve, was that, okay, we got the gig, I think in January, it was going to be early May. And to my mind, there was no reason to do this unless I had new songs, for a new album. And so I wrote 5 new songs for the record. And here's a little inside baseball. The night of the show, I wanted to make sure that we had a really good recording of those 5 songs. So I begged the audience forgiveness, and we staggered those 5 songs again in the second set, just to make sure that, in case anything went wrong in that first set recording, I wanted to make sure those 5 songs had it going on. And it was a great night. Brian Sims was on the gig. John Penovich added so much to that record, and the following record on guitar, he really gets what I am doing musically. So that really shows in his performances too, as does with Brian. Yeah.
Oh, it's just wonderful stuff. We're actually gonna jump over to the Goose Creek live show for a second. There's a song that I just kind of wrapped my arms around that I loved. It's called Lighthouse Keeper. I'm a Nantucket guy. We've been going there my entire life when I was a kid. Lighthouses are part of my New England upbringing. But that aside, how did this song come to you?
Let me tell you, that song literally wrote itself. Okay?
Yeah.
And it came out of my wife, God bless her. She said, "Must you keep writing about your ex-girlfriends?" So I go out back with my guitar, and in the time it took to play it, I literally started that song. I had enough of broken hearts and broken families, which is kind of what the first 2 albums were about,
Right.
So there it is. And it's always been a dream of mine to live in a lighthouse and be that hermit. I probably would get tired of it pretty quick, but yeah. And it's this sing along happy song. So.
Oh, that is great. You sure you didn't date any lighthouses in your past that she didn't know about? Yeah, you never know. Well, you guys, we're going to go to the first of a couple we're going to roll from Goose Creek live. This is a wonderful tune that, again, I really liked when I was screening, and I said, this feels like Billy. And so we're going to go to Goose Creek. This is If You Hear a Lighthouse Rock, and you can bet your ass it's Billy. It's a little lighthouse keeper.
Had enough of broken hearts and broken families to make me want to spend my days alone beside the sea, or pass the time just sitting still, learning how to be. A lighthouse keeper's way sounds pretty good to me. Got no clock or telephone, no connectivity, just a guitar and an amplifier, 3 power chords, you see. I play as loud as I want to, as often as I please. The lighthouse making noise is the sound of being free. I'm sending out a message to all the ships at sea. I got no words of wisdom, just a lonesome melody. Sending out a message to all the ships at sea. You hear a lighthouse rocking, you can bet your life it's me. Think I might get lonely just staring at the sea. Well, I got the life of Riley, and I'm doing as I please. I'll shine my light and sing my song as happy as can be. The lighthouse keeper's life is the one I want for me. I'm sending out a message to all the ships at sea. I got no words of wisdom, just a lonesome melody. I'm sending out a message to all the ships at sea. You hear a lighthouse rocking, you can bet your life it's me. Sending out a message to all the ships at sea. I got no words of wisdom, just a lonesome melody. Sending out a message to all the ships at sea. You hear a lighthouse rocking, you can bet your ass it's me.
Yeah, it just made me feel like I'm riding in on the ferry across from either Woods Hole or Hyannis and seeing the lighthouses. Yeah, I love that, and your lady must have loved that too. You know, for once, damn it, for once. You know,
it's not
Yeah.
much to ask, really. You know,
Right. Well, she knows that part of a songwriter's life is writing about depth, and then you can also write about a lighthouse. So it was. I loved it. I loved it a lot. You continued through the 2000s and continued to play some bandhouse gigs. Continued to do some wonderful things. You did a gig at the Hamilton with wonderful Ronnie Newmeyer's Newmeyer Flyers. It was the Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle, I believe, which is not being a massive Springsteen fan. That's an undertaking with all the variety of songs and things going there. How was that to develop? How much fun and remember any brief little anecdotes about planning to play that music?
Yeah, I remember when Ronnie called me about it. So he was starting this offshoot that's his own entity called Newmeyer Flyer, and he said the first thing I want to do is take 2 classic albums and put them back to back and have a group of players perform them. And he said one of them is E Street Shuffle, and he said I thought of you. What song would you like to sing? And I didn't want to be greedy, okay? I wanted to pick something that I thought would be heartfelt and so forth. And I said, how about Sandy, 4th of July, Asbury Park? Sandy. He said, He said, oh, that's an interesting choice. I was thinking Rosalita for you. And I was like, hell yeah. Yes, sign me up,
Oh,
So,
God.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
That's one to grab. Go ahead, please.
Oh yeah, and what happened was, God bless them, the band was willing to transpose the song down a little bit because it's higher than you think actually to sing that song, and there's this huge interlude, musical interlude in the middle of it, and I was like, what am I going to do? I'm just standing here. I'm not playing an instrument, so I leave the stage and then I grab my wireless mic with me, and we come back into the quiet verse after the thing, and nobody knows where my vocal's coming from until I walk through the crowd.
Oh, great.
In front of the band. And I'm like, getting to that point where your mama's sad, your dad,
like Papa says she knows that.
Exactly. I wanted to be there in the crowd right for that moment because everybody knows that part. So it was another great moment.
Oh, what a great thing. And God, what a thrill. And Chuck Underwood was there. Bill Starks, my buddy, John Hurd, Ronnie Smith, Trevor Specht, Wayne Salk. What a cast. Cheryl Terwilliger. Well, here we go. Here's a little bit. And actually it's a nice big chunk because it's my show and I'm a Springsteen fan. So, and we're not done with Springsteen yet here on Billy Coulter's Life. But again, let's go to 2013, the wonderful, fabulous Hamilton. We'll all be back there soon in bulk, hopefully, of course. But here's a little bit of Rosalita. Yes. You know how many times I have literally seen that song played live? I think maybe 40. I've seen Bruce upwards of 40 times. Just such a fanatic, and what a blast. I mean, and again, the fact that Ronnie, took this a step up, even, a different step from Bandhouse, and decided to do his own thing with these tribute records, and those guys it's just an incredible joy, right? To play with them and for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. The bands are always spectacular. The Chuck Underwood and Greg Harden are also in that video too.
Yeah.
Just miraculous undertaking.
Yep. And Greg Harden, part of the original Bandhouse Gigs quintet of those guys. In 2014, there was an interesting thing that happened. CBS Sunday Morning aired part or all of Station Wagon, one of your songs. How did that come to be?
My mother called me and she said, "I just heard your song on CBS this morning." And I said, No, Mom, it had to be somebody else's song. They never contacted me, to use my song. It's not like they just do that, And so we found a recording of it to confirm that, in fact, it was my song being played during this segment about station wagons. And I called my wife's best friend is a lawyer and does intellectual property law. And she immediately got on the phone with CBS's general counsel and said, "You used my client's intellectual property without his permission." And he's like, "What?" Yeah. So we had a little agreement with CBS after that.
Oh, that's great. Like you want a song of yours played every night on the CBS Evening News. That's what you worked out. That's a good deal. No, and I love this song. And this is another one I chose from the Goose Creek live show. This just shows the kind of the rock kind of bones of you. And let's head back to that Goose Creek show that's so wonderful, and jump into the station wagon.
I've been saving up money to buy my own car, but the one I've been driving won't get me too far. It's got a 3 on the tree, not a 4 on the floor, and it's hard to look cool in a car with 5 doors. You can best be sure this racer ain't dragging, cruising around town in my station wagon. I found a Firebird coupe, didn't cost too much. It's got a rusted out rear and a messed up clutch. It really needs a paint job and a muffler too, and a pair of fuzzy dice hanging from the rear view. If she passes inspection, she'll be a ride worth bragging. Till then I'm cruising all around in my station wagon. Oh, let's go cruise. Hey, hey, hey. Well, it's Saturday night and I'm hoping to score. I flip the air cleaner, make the engine roar. With a fake ID, I'll get a 6-pack of beer. And maybe that cool chick will finally notice me here. At the end of the night, my heart's still sagging, cruising home alone in my station wagon.
Yeah, I love that. Really, really rocks, and such wonderful writing. You've really done a wonderful job of this writing, and I can't wait to hear more. Even in 2014, Back and Forth, your fourth album. What was but briefly, what was behind that, Billy? Was that a different tack? Was that the same kind of thing? Did you do anything differently?
So I felt we were lacking studio versions of the Goose Creek songs, those 5 songs that we put on there. And so I just wanted to have studio versions of Station Wagon. And by the way, that was written around the same time with the same initiative of stop writing songs about your ex-girlfriend. So that came shortly thereafter, Lighthouse. And so then I had a pile of new songs. And so, especially for a song like Sunflower, which is the Goose Creek.
Yes.
That is my homage to power pop, which I just love that genre. And I wouldn't want to do it all the time. I've tried to bring roots in with the pop, and have a balance of both. But I wanted 12-string guitar on that. And this was impossible to do, acoustic 12-string, there's an electric 12-string part, there's all these things, these backing vocals that I wanted to capture in a recording of Sunflower. So that's why we did that one. Station Wagon, Lighthouse, all those, I felt it was necessary to have a live, a studio version of those. And then we moved on to, now there's a Diversion song on that album. As a matter of fact, there's a song written by Brian Bialva back in the 80s that I loved. I remember stepping into their band house and hearing them writing it, and it's called She's Just That Way. And I took his version of it, made it a little bit more Stonesy and an open G tuning and stuff, but it's pretty much, the way he wrote it. And so those were little things that I wanted to do. There's a song I wrote with Janine Wilson on it called "Almost Lucky Me." So
Oh,
these were
wow.
things how I was starting to stretch out a little bit. And there's a big bombastic song called "Independence Day" that's
Nice.
just threw everything in the kitchen sink on that album. It's like these are outliers that I wanted to capture, and it turned out great.
Oh, I love that. Well, speaking of Sunflower, let's take a little wander through a clip of part of that song that Billy wrote and actually recorded in studio for Back and Forth, but put it on the previous Goose Creek record. Here's a little look at Sunflower.
Oh, those foolish looks behind me, lamenting ones that got away. And though the heartache wants to find me, I love the girl who came to stay. And wherever you go, I want you to know you're my sweet sunflower, baby, and you brighten up my day. And if the days grow short tomorrow, halcyon times are still ahead. There's something blue and something borrowed. You have my vow until I'm dead. And wherever you go, I want you to know you're my sweet sunflower, baby, and you brighten up my day. Look at you now, I want you somehow, you're my sweet sunflower, baby, and you brighten up my way. Summer ends when we say it's over.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you could tell that's kind of something special to you. All those songs that seem to come in that kind of situation between Goose Creek and then Back and Forth. Things really seem to be gelling for you. And in 2017 you recorded and released 3 more singles digitally.
Yeah, one of them. So my wife does yoga on Wednesday nights, and I get to turn that stack back there really loud when she's gone. And so I had this song that I've been wanting to write called "Ready, Fire, Aim," and
Nice.
I just cranked it up, and the song literally just wrote itself by me just slamming on it. And then there's another song called Never Better that sort of goes back to a time in the 80s and I literally used a little synth patch just to be reminiscent of that period, at the beginning of it. But the one song of the singles that I didn't write was I set out to write a song that was a favorite saying of a friend of mine, a guy named Bill Delaney. He said, "Seemed like a good idea at the time," So, and I found that a guy that I had opened for, a New Jersey guy, a big friend of Springsteen's, as a matter of fact, a guy named John Eddy, wrote a song called that.
Right.
And I honestly couldn't improve on it. And so the next time I saw him, we opened for him at Jam and Java a couple years ago. And I said, "Dude, we've been playing, good idea. Would it be okay if I recorded it?" He said, "Absolutely." And then he said, "Why don't you play it tonight?" I'm like, "I'm not playing it for your audience." "Oh, go ahead. I'm like, "No, that's no way." So he ended up, it was Maggie's birthday that night, and he ended up calling me up on stage during his set to sing Maggie May with him. And
Oh,
I've never sung that song before, Steve, and I didn't. I
yeah.
know the words, but I didn't know the words, and but it was still a blast. And he's a great guy and a great songwriter. If you don't know
Yeah.
John Eddie, go listen to him.
John Eddie I know him very well. In fact, the guy I mentioned before, Jim Cox, who was my college roommate at University of Hartford, who brought Darkness back from Ridgewood, New Jersey, is very good friends with John Eddie. They've spent a ton of time together. He got to know him through the gigs, and then has since become very close with him. And he's a really good guy. And what a great story that is. In fact, I think that Jam and Java gig that you're talking about is when Jim kept saying, John's playing like right near you. You got to go see him. And I'm like, I couldn't go that night. And he's busting my chops. And I would have loved it because I would have seen you do Maggie May. Who knew?
Yeah.
Singing it for your Maggie. Well, that's wonderful. Though that was a neat time. So between the around Back and Forth and around the singles that you released, you continued to play, continued to kind of keep the music going, I would think, over the leading up to this last 8 months of Oddity. It seems like things were continuing to play live. You were continuing to want to kind of keep the road going, right? It seems.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I sort of said to myself that I'm going to wind this down a little bit. And part of that during that period, I got another call from the Birchmere saying, "Hey, would you like to open?" It was Los Lonely Boys. I guess
Yeah,
it was
sweet.
I think that was 2019.
Right.
And so we couldn't bring the whole band. It's just too much to set up and strike, on that small stage. But Arch Alcantara and I did it as a duo, and had a blast. And anytime you're doing that kind of thing, you run this risk. I opened for Southside Johnny playing solo there. Okay?
Wow.
And those are some ravenous fans. And
yeah.
I got through the set and I was like, let me see if this will work. And I said, you guys might know this one. And if you do, sing along. And I did Springsteen's, oh God, the song's for, No Surrender.
Yes. Nice.
I closed the set with No Surrender, and the whole damn place is singing with me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Even Johnny, who can be a bit of a grouch, was like, "Yeah, there you go."
There you go. I mean, it's so funny. My buddy Scott Kurt, who you might know, an Americana singer in our area. Scott warmed up Southside at the Birchmere, and I went and I interviewed Southside before that show a week or two and got to meet him. And what a trip that was because of all the many Southside shows I'd gone to see in college. But that's wonderful. And so you were continuing to play, but again, figuring out a way that was comfortable for you. You did a gig that a lot of it was rolled on at the Rockville Town Center. And what I love about this is that it feels like live music. It feels like sitting outside and watching live music, which we all so desperately miss. I mean, again, I've done a number of gigs. We've all tried to figure out ways to do outside gigs, but to have everybody kind of jammed in and listening to rock and going to town, that must have been kind of one of those, again, kind of fun, quintessential DC area outside gigs to do. Anything interesting or different about that one?
Well, we've played the Rockville Town Center, quite a lot over the past few years. It's where I grew up. I grew up in Rockville High School. I went to Wooten High School, and so I always look forward to that gig. And sometimes it gets rained out, but that night was just this perfect summer night, and a guy had a high def cam and basically shot almost at least a set of the show.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's great. I watched the whole thing and I was rocking to it all. This is a wonderful exclamation point on this amazing journey down Billy's life. And we'll come back and wrap it up in a second. But I had to pick this one. I've sung this with my band Second Wind for the last 15 years too. And it is short, sweet, and wonderful. And these guys kind of put in a lot. And there's a couple of great solos in here. But this is a song written by Bruce called From Small Things, Big Things Come. Dave Edmunds recorded it in the 80s. But boy, the Billy Coulter Band kicked some tail in Rockville with From Small Things.
Okay, I got nothing left. Thanks very much. You made my summer.
Oh, from small things, baby, big things come. One day come. That is a blast. And but wow, what a fun band. Is that the band that you currently have as Billy Coulter Band?
Yeah, that's Doug Tull on drums, Arch Alcantara on bass, Max Evans on guitar, and Brian Sims on keyboards. Yeah,
I love them. Arch,
great.
again, standing next to Arch singing Pump It Up to open the Barnes Elvis Costello Bandhouse gig show wasn't a bad moment. And then since then, he was on with Ruthie Logsdon a couple of a month or two ago doing a show with me. And he just did that acoustic guitar project thing,
Right.
which I guess Ruthie just did. Kind of cool. Write a song in a
Yeah.
week and then boom. Kind of fun.
I did that last year, and
Oh.
I only had 3 days to write it because I was going out of town and had to hand off the guitar. No pressure, you know. But yeah,
Oh, that's great.
I work well on a deadline, I guess. So
Well,
yeah.
Billy, I hope you didn't write it about an ex-girlfriend. I
No,
mean, maybe you wrote it about like a car or a building or a
Right.
tree.
Architecture, songs about architecture.
Right, or a lighthouse.
Yeah.
So Billy, what a wonderful circle we've taken. I wanted to, just ask you as I thank you here, what looks like post-pandemic for Billy Coulter and his musical world.
Well, I am hopeful that a gig that we were going to do this year has been postponed at AMP by Strathmore in Rockville. It's the first time ever that my sister's band and my band would play together. And,
Oh
yeah,
God,
it's called Bands Across the Water.
Oh.
So it's scheduled for May 6th. So please keep your fingers crossed. Keep your masks on, please, people.
Yes.
So that we can bring live music back, and that's something to look forward to for sure.
No,
I hope to be
absolutely.
back at our usual places and playing with, this conversation wouldn't be complete if I did not mention just how absolutely grateful and how fortunate I am to be able to play with the guys that I do get to perform with. They are dear friends and they are amazing musicians, and I'm blessed. There's no other word for it. So
well, they're blessed to play. Well, they're blessed to play with you, and I'm sure bless you for mentioning them again. In talking with every guest for the last 7 months on this show, the musical community in Washington D.C. and surrounding areas is almost second to none. And you can tell not only from the Bandhouse gigs collaborations, but in each of your bands, you guys have crafted this amazing family of musicians. It changes, people come and go, but for the most part, it is part of your ride. Billy Coulter, look, man, again, that was hopefully a wonderful, fun kind of reminiscing ride down memory lane for you too. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me, and again, Living on Music, we're just trying to get everybody a chance to engage and enjoy kind of everything going on as they get through this.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for keeping this alive. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure a lot of other folks do too. Thanks. Keep it up.
Well, thanks, man. And again, it was great to dive back into your music, and I can't wait to take it all now and keep listening to it. And we'll keep in close touch, and I'll be sure to plug that May 6th gig at Strathmore with English Channel. Thanks again, Billy, very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, the real special part of doing Living on Music is being able to take journeys like that with somebody like Billy. Again, we're 5-6 months apart, so we've been around this earth pretty much the same amount of time. Both had different rides, but again, we collided, coincided, met via music, and his music is something very special, and I'm gonna be a fan now, as well as continue to promote him and have him on again sometime. But thanks, Billy. What a wonderful time. Coming up on Living on Music, we've got a wonderful run here through December into January. On December 21st, it is the incredible Sound Impact. Sound Impact, as I said, is a collective of musicians that basically is dedicated to serving communities and really igniting positive change in the U.S. and abroad. And it's through live performance, through their collective of musicians, some NSOs, some other orchestras, other groups from around the globe and America, and just wonderful people and amazing players, and also doing educational programs as well as playing, helping. They've done an incredible run in Costa Rica with kids there who get free education and music education and learning and mentorship and concerts. And they're an amazing organization. We're going to talk to their three founders, three amazing ladies, and as players all, and we're going to talk to them about Sound Impact and how they empower people, to expand their perspectives, and they connect people from all ages and backgrounds, and engage people with brand new experiences. So Sound Impact, big show on December 21st. December 28th, the guy who's been mentioned in almost a number of my shows, was mentioned this past show with Chuck Sullivan. I think he came up with Billy and I tonight. It's Daryl Jr. Klein. Daryl is an incredible 40-year musician, just mixing the soul of the blues. You got some sweet horns bouncing in there. He's got a signature style, and again, has had an incredible run with so many musicians that have been on Living on Music, some of whom have been in his band with him, like Chuck Sullivan, a number of other people. Just an amazing run for Daryl, and what a thrill to have him on to talk about his musical journey, his life, with Junior Klein, JR Junior Klein, and the Recliners, who have been entertaining audiences for, again, 4 decades plus. They've performed at the White House, have earned multiple Whammys, and also they had a long run on New Year's Eve in New York City. What a gig that has to be for a number of years, and that I believe this year is not going to happen because of everything. So Daryl Klein, Daryl Junior Klein on the 28th. January 4th, very, very excited to go into the blues with Linwood Taylor, 30 years Washington native. He's a veteran blues guitarist, has performed and toured internationally, fronting his own band, a 2-year stint in guitarist with Joe Louis Walker Band. He's played with Albert Collins. This is a blues legend of the area, and a guy I know well, and his wife. Love them, Judy Taylor, who is one of the staples of JVs in Falls Church. Really, really sweet lady, and an amazing part of the success of that organization, as a number of those people are over there. But I love Linwood. Really excited to have him on January 4th, and we are going to go blues on that day. And then on January 11th, this is a thrill. One of the early members of the first Machination, and then lasted 30 years with the Nighthawks, Jan Zukowski. Jan is a bass player, obviously, renowned bass player, and jumped in the early 70s with the Nighthawks and had a run all the way up to 2004. So we are going to talk about the Nighthawks, and that is one of the most legendary bands in Washington. They are American blues, they are roots music, and Jan was a vital part of that band, and we're going to be Nighthawking on January 11th. I really can't wait for that. This week on ZTV, we've got a great run again. Reading, Writing, and Ralph, author John Wasowitz returns to ZTV. He was on before, and he's got a new book called Slater's Lane. That's a great show. If you want to hear authors talk about why they wrote books and what they're about and the fascinating stuff, check out Reading, Writing, and Ralph with Ralph Peluso tomorrow night at 7 o'clock here on ZTV. On Wellness Wednesday, always really great information. Dr. Lauren Fisher of the Delray Wellness District will be joined by Dr. Eleni Bousalis, I hope I pronounced that well, Bousalis, to discuss her new podcast, Why Does This Keep Happening? And I love that. I'm sure it delves deep into kind of mindful ways to move through the holidays, especially now. Again, I'm not going to be seeing my kids this Christmas. I might see one of my son a little bit after Christmas if all is safe, and it's never safe until it's safe. And then you're dealing with a lot during the holidays, and some people dealing with more than that. So again, Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Lauren Fisher. She does such a wonderful job talking about important things that you can do as well as things that are very important to the entire area. Thursday, it's the Virginia Amos Show. Virginia's guest is Megan Foran of Alexandria and Company. Foran. A boutique jewelry store in Old Town. So you're going to hear about a lot of kind of really cool things for the holidays. Please remember to support local businesses when you can. When it's safe to go inside. We went into one out in Bethany yesterday, and there's a lot of people in there, and it was a little interesting walking by people a lot in this time. But everybody was masked and safe, and that's what they're doing in Old Town and all around this area. So watch Virginia Show Thursday, find out a little bit about this wonderful boutique jewelry store in Old Town. And again, support local businesses whenever you can, especially now. Remember that Lucelle O'Flaherty, the wonderful Lucelle, is out there so often on ZTV. She'll just go live several times a day and give you a little bit of a taste of what's going on out there. Lately, it's been going to stores and talking to some of the owners, all masked, and talking to them about what they're doing right now, what they're selling, you know, trying to be as normal as they can in an abnormal time. So again, follow Lucelle on Facebook and on Zebra, Good News Zebra. She's in there as well, and find so much good information and things about this entire area. And Susan Fleshman is, again, always around hosting shows, being one of our EPs, one of the staples of ZTV. So again, ZTV is here 24/7 with past shows, and then a lot of live stuff during the week, as well as, of course, Living on Music on Mondays at 7. Living on Music is a production of Zebra Press. The producer and editor and amazing companion on Living on Music that I mentioned earlier, Lainey Delaney. Also, hello, Lainey. Thanks so much. And the Zebra Press publisher is Mary Wadland. You can visit the Zebra at zebra.org and on the Good News Zebra Press Facebook page. And that's where you can find a lot, including the Living on Music pages in there and the videos. You can find so many other things that you can just bookmark and be pinged on. And there's a lot, you guys. It's this area, and it's important to be part of it as you can. So that's part of it. The December 2020 edition of the Zebra, I just got it downstairs, just arrived this weekend, and I'm so excited to have a cup of coffee in the morning, iced coffee, and watch and read the newspaper. And it is the Zebra, and there's a wonderful, wonderful edition coming your way. You can subscribe at zebra.org. I mean, get it delivered to your house. Why not? It's you know, no real lift at all for you. And or you go to zebra.org and check it out virtually. There's a great calendar of Living on Music things that are happening on ZTV as well. So that's really fun. But the Zebra newspaper is something that you should have as a staple, monthly staple in your life. So see what you can do. You can also find it all over Alexandria. Once again, everybody, keep safe, stay well. Remember that music is a salve for the soul. We're going to be talking to Sound Impact in the next show, and basically we talk about how much music helps kids as well as adults like me and you, but how it really, really is something special for helping the kind of advancement of kids, the way that they team up, the way that they understand collaboration. It's an amazing run we're going to take with Sound Impact on December 21st. So be sure to check it out. In the meantime, remember, if you can, at any time, it is really, really important to not only care about yourself and your family, but in general, be the good news in someone's life. Take care, you guys.